by passing the hat, which is this bucket here. And so you're going to go ahead and pass around. Okay. So if you want to throw in a donation, recommended $1, $5, whatever you got, slash are willing to give is always helpful and keep us going and keep us providing awesome speakers for you guys every week, which is great. Right, so the sponsor this month is Dexter Builders. Jordan's here from Dexter Builders to talk to us about it. Get the mic here. Cool.
I'll just try to talk loud. I'm Jordan. I'm with Dexter Builders. We're sponsoring this month, so I think you have to put up with me for one more week.
Yes.
One more week. We were established back in 2000 in Dexter, just past the Baker and Jackson Road, and we were with the community a lot longer than that. We started out pretty small, a couple guys, a couple tools, a couple trucks, just hanging out with their friends, doing some jobs. And lo and behold, they liked it a lot, and people really liked their work. So we grew, and now we're a lot bigger than that. And with the help of our guest speaker last week, Whole Brain Group, we now have a website for Dexter Builders, Dexter Block, Dexter Roof and Side. So we can do a little bit of everything for you, anywhere from designing and creating and building a whole entire house to just installing a couple windows, a couple screen doors for you. So if you guys ever have any questions, feel free to talk to me. We do free estimates, come by your house, talk to you about it. We do free drawings, we don't charge you for that. We've got a lot of guys that really enjoy what they do and just, still having fun and actually get to enjoy their work. So.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks. Thank you very much. So this week our speaker is Vielmetti, who I have the opportunity of knowing before you guys, which is great. Thanks for me. So we're going to give him an LA2M t-shirt. He's going to get a fancy picture with it. And then remember you have to wear it to work tomorrow.
You're wearing to work tomorrow. Someone decided I was a size large, so.
Well, that's not correct.
Yeah, we can always change it out.
Okay.
We're going to get large.
That's awesome.
We gotcha.
Get you large.
Cool. That's excellent. So Ed's going to talk to us today about the Internet 2020. And he is a longtime blogger. He's started, or been a part of 8 startups, 2 of which he co-founded, right? So that's excellent. You're learning from an expert here. And I'm going to pass the mic over and let him get started.
Great.
That's the only mic I've seen.
So this one on the
What about yours?
you think this is better?
No. Bad.
Is this better?
Probably not turned up in the back.
How about this one? No?
No. No, that one's not turned up. Something turned up in the back.
Mike's not working.
Mike's not working.
Oh, Ed, here's a large.
Okay. Thank you.
Skinny salt.
Thank you. So I can project as long as everyone can hear me. I'll pretend that I'm holding a mic. What would be action? Oh, here.
Woo! Good work.
Don't worry, I got a picture.
Okay.
Perfect.
This one on to medium, those are not so bad.
So thanks everyone for coming out today. I want to talk to you about the future. The future of the internet in the year 2020. The year 2020 is not that far off. One of my kids will be in high school. One of my kids will be in college. So that's sort of like this slightly terrifying distance in the future where you're not ready for it right now, but you know it's coming. I want to talk about a couple trends that I see. The overall observation is that the future is already here. It's just not evenly distributed. So some of the things I'm talking about will actually be things that are in the world right now. It's just that not everyone has them. And pointing at some of the trends that are coming up that you might be able to look at today and say, this is really rare right now, but in 7 years this will be common. And I'm going to try to be a little bit bold in some of these predictions because everyone underestimates how much change there can be in the future. And I figure if I take some risks At the worst, people forget in 7 years that I gave the speech. And at the best, someone said, I remember him telling me that. So the first thing I want to talk about is harmonics.
You can't move.
I can't move. So the first thing I want to talk about is the future of mobile technology. And I want to just start by illustrating with this slide. Oh, wow.
Don't turn it off. Just put it on.
Put it on mute.
Do that.
Is it on now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's better.
You want to put it on mute.
Just stand there.
Hold the microphone.
Okay, I think that's going to work. So I want to look at the evolution of... No, I'll be fine.
Kidding.
Better now? I'm turned off now.
Push it up.
Now I'm back on. Okay. So I'm back on now. So I want to look at how mobile technology has changed in the last, really since there was mobile technology. Okay.
There you go.
So, well, we have the slide up here. Mobile phones used to be bricks, and then they reduced in size until everyone was carrying around a candy bar or maybe a flip phone. And things were pretty stable. The mobile phone companies competed on how thin their devices were, how cool their devices were, how long the battery would last. And then suddenly everyone started to carry around glass rectangles. They don't look like any of those phones. They don't have keyboards on them. They don't have, it's just a screen and something you can point at. And so the world of a million different kinds of phones consolidated down to the smartphone. There's still a million kinds of phones out there that cost less, but the future of phones is a little glass slab that you poke at that doesn't have any keys on it. Now, the next question is, how big does that glass slab be? This is a fairly small one. I've seen smaller. They get bigger, and at some point, the evolution turns into the phone as tablet, where you're carrying around something as big as your computer and holding it up to your face to try to talk. Is that going to work? Thank you. So you have this iteration from tiny devices to glass rectangles to maybe big glass rectangles, and then thinking a few years in the future, mobile phones are still changing fairly fast. People on 2-year contracts are getting a new phone. So in 7 years, they will have had 3 opportunities to get a new device. Or even if you're bringing your own phone to a contract, someone might hold the phone for 3 years until it physically wears out or it gets so obsolete that you hand it down to your kids. So mobile technology is going to keep changing faster than any other devices around. They're relatively cheap. Their cost is in the hundreds of dollars, not the thousands of dollars. The technology is still getting better. People are still figuring out how to have longer battery life. People are still figuring out how to have more pixels on the screen. And the world of mobile applications is still expanding as people look at everything that you can do with a mobile device that could have previously only been done with a big laptop screen. So the bold prediction is that over time, the percentage of the internet that happens through the mobile phone keeps going up. And more people think of the mobile device as the first screen that they're looking at. And they may or may not even have a laptop to look at. And I think that has a lot of implications for people who are doing design. The design of the human interface on a small screen is very different from the design of the big screen. You have some extra things that with you. You can tell where people are located. You can tell where something is being pointed at. So you can do augmented reality or virtual reality just by pointing at something and getting more information about it. And I've seen some user interfaces from folks who are doing local navigator programs where you walk down the street and you point your phone at something and it tells you about it. And it looks like magic. And the thing that you can hold in your hand and have it tell you about the world feels like magic still to me. And I think as people look for the future of things, they're going to be inspired not so much by the sort of things that you can do sitting down, but the sort of things that you can do standing up. Whether that's just a translation of existing functions or a whole new set of things, I think that the small screen is going to overtake the big screen as the major point of attraction for the internet. And let me illustrate why I think the big screen doesn't matter quite so much. So this is an Osborne 1. How many of you are old enough to remember when computers, you lugged them around? Okay, about a third of the room. This was state of the art. It weighed 23.5 pounds. It was like a big suitcase or a big sewing machine. It had a 5-inch screen, which by mobile phone standards is a pretty good size. It had a full keyboard. You could take it with you on an airplane. You couldn't actually use it on an airplane, but you could lug it along with you. And it was the peak of the world for people who were mobile in 1983. That's a long time ago. So 30 years later, we have the evolution of that device, which is, one of the evolutions of that device is a device like the MacBook Air. It weighs 20 pounds less. The screen is awesome compared to the old thing. The keyboard is a keyboard still, but it's still pretty awesome. It has super high-speed connectivity built in. It doesn't even have a hard drive anymore because all the memory is flash. It is, the pinnacle of what a laptop could be, especially if you're a Macintosh fan. Even if you're a Windows fan, you're still impressed by the hardware. So I have to ask myself, 7 years from now, how can you make this thing any better? You can add incrementally more memory, you can make the screen incrementally more beautiful, but the form has reached some essential of glass rectangle with the keyboard attached to it. You're not going to make it much lighter because you'd have to lop off the keyboard to lop off half the weight, and then you're back in the tablet world. So I don't see people replacing their laptops every 2 years. This might be a 3-year investment. This might be a 5-year investment. And because of that, the rate of pace of innovation in this world is going to slow down. People like me are still going to be using a 5-year-old laptop and making good use of it, and still running reasonably modern software, not paying more money every year to improve it. Maybe a small improvement in software gives you a little bit more memory, a little more effort to go. So I think the world of big screens with keyboards attached is going to slow down in innovation. And that sort of goes hand in hand with little screens with no keyboards attached being where the innovation happens. And because of that, so this is, does anyone remember America Online? Yeah, you've got mail. So America Online was the big social network in 1998. It was where everyone went. There were popular movies made about it, and everyone understood what was going on. You didn't have to explain. And it was the center of the internet universe for people who didn't really know what the internet was, but who wanted to get online. And I bring up America Online because I think that Facebook is very much the same beast as America Online. Facebook is this world, it's relatively closed in. If you're using it, you're not looking at the whole internet, you're looking at Facebook, you're focused inward on yourself. The experience is designed to be immersive. You could log into Facebook and never log into anything else all day. It's got chat, it's got email, it's got pictures of cats, it's got videos of cats. It has everything that you might possibly want. And it's had enormous growth over the last not very many years, right? So it's one of these things with a steep ramp up, and I have to think, geez, what can you expect from Facebook in 2020? Especially with the perspective of how does that rich, immersive experience designed for the biggest screen that you have fit on this little tiny glass rectangle? The answer of late has been not really very well. Facebook came out with a Facebook Home device, which was a phone that was supposed to have all your friends in it and everything you wanted to do. And even though people are willing to spend all their time inside Facebook doing social things, they're not willing to buy a phone that has all those features in it. AT&T just can't see that. The other thing that's happening with Facebook is that its population is aging. It started out as being a college kids thing, elite college kids, Harvard, Ivy League, and then slowly it rolled out to more college campuses, and then high schools, and then everybody, and your mom is on Facebook, and your granddad is on Facebook, and that cousin that you have more or less completely forgotten about is on Facebook. The person who shares your name in some other country in the world, the Eddie Vielmetti who lives in Argentina is on Facebook. And the world has, it's taken the world by storm. How do you sustain that for the next 7 years? What possible innovation can you have? And the big wonder is that as Facebook users gray, does Facebook turn into not just a place where you hear about people's new kids or people's engagements or whatnot, but Facebook starts to be a place where the world goes to read obituaries as your Facebook friends start to die, or as your granddad dies, or as your parents live on. The local newspaper doesn't always have right up-to-date obituaries these days, especially if it's only being published a couple times a week. So, Facebook has completely taken over the world of birthdays. If you want to remember someone's birthday, all you have to do is click on the stupid thing once a day and send happy birthday messages. It could very easily be the world of obituaries, especially as Facebook ages. But what I don't think is Facebook as the Facebook home where everything you're looking at is on your small phone. I just don't think, with all of the advertising on it, with all of the complication to it, it's designed to be a very rich and immersive environment. I don't think that they can condense all that to a little tiny screen. And that's one of the reasons I want to talk about the other big social global phenomenon, which is Twitter. And Twitter has its origins in the telegraph industry. If you go back far enough, you think 1860s, 1880s, 1890s, people sending short messages around the world. They were not limited to 140 characters, but they were limited to not very many characters because they were paying by the character. So an entire industry sprung up of short telegraphic global communications, both for commerce, people sending instructions in code, buy cotton at this price, or sell my orange juice or whatnot. but also a thriving underclass of telegraph operators who would send jokes to each other over the telegraph line. Elaborate codes got built up so that you could compress long messages into short ones. These codes could be sent over telegraph lines or over wireless. I gave a talk once about that had a mention of the Antarctic telegraph code that was used by Australian explorers to Antarctica, and which had special codes for the wind is coming, the snow is coming through the cracks in my tent. And that was a 5-character message that you could send. So short messages have been going around the world for 150 years and they're not going to stop. And Twitter puts that short message into the small glass rectangle. And I think because of that, it has this sort of longer-term perspective as far as growth goes, being where people are as the world expands. And I'm very bullish on Twitter, even if it's hard to type on these small screens, and you sometimes get it wrong. It's still the sort of thing where there are going to be lots of opportunities for people who are on the bus, or people walking on the street, or people just checking things as they're going into a meeting, can take up a very short amount of messaging and get a lot from it. And I want to show you a picture of what Twitter looked like before it escaped paper. It's called Status. This is a sketch by Jack Dorsey. If you can see it, you'll notice that there's a little box and a little log of what other people have put in their little boxes. And it just hasn't changed very much from that initial conception. You think about all the changes that have been made for all of the other services in the world. But the Twitter user experience is still very much that very short message with a bunch of other people's short messages cascading down your screen. You can tune into any one of them if you want. You can tune into hashtags so you can track events as they're happening. And because it's so simple, people have been able to build things on top of it that are more complex. The first real use of things like hashtags came about as people were evacuated in the face of a fire. And they shared the use of a code on their screen, just like the Antarctic explorers used codes to say a lot of words in a few minutes, that they could do that. And I only expect that this environment is going to get richer over time because it's so simple. And one of the things that's going to make it simple is the use of sort of the next topic I have, which is how computers are getting smaller and cheaper, radically smaller and cheaper, so much so that you can imagine having a whole fleet of them in your house or in your office or in your industrial world, and that they wouldn't cost very much. And I want to tell you a story about a device that looks something like this in a hot tub. In 1993, a friend of mine, Paul Haas, hooked his hot tub up to the internet. He had a computer which probably cost about $5,000 used. It was twice that new. And some sensors. And he ran a long line from the sensors to the computer in his office and wired them up to the temperature probe in his hot tub and made sure that his heater didn't turn off because he was worried that the hot tub was going to freeze in the wintertime. In 1995, that was enough to get you mentioned in Esquire magazine. They said, Paul is kind of geeky, and he was. He still is. Is enough to get you mentioned in the New York Times. This whole notion that, wow, a computer can control things, can touch things in the real world. But this was a Sun workstation. This was, scientific research equipment that you needed to do that. And it was expensive. And if you go into the present day, you get a device that looks sort of like this. It's not much bigger than this thing here. This is called a Raspberry Pi. The device there costs about $35. If you plug in everything that you need to plug into it, you're under $100. You need a power supply, you need some memory, and you might need a keyboard, at least to get it started, or a screen. But you can plug everything into it, and it costs virtually nothing. And so if you want to put your hot tub on the internet, you're ready to go. A few temperature probes and this thing, and instead of $5,000 to the ticket to entry, it's less than $100. And so the people who are tinkering on things, the people who are building new things from scratch, suddenly have a very inexpensive platform. And this is not the only kind of device that's tiny and cheap. There's a fellow who's keeping a list of all the single board computers that are less than $100, and it's getting longer by the day, and the computers are getting more powerful. And with this kind of technology, it's not hard to imagine people building control capability into all sorts of things that would otherwise be really hard. Right now, to do this, you have to have a certain level of technical expertise. But as time goes on, people start to build this sort of technology. By the way, the main chip in this is not traditionally a computer chip. This is built out of cell phone parts. And since cell phone parts have gotten cheaper over time, can be gotten in bulk over time, you can only imagine that this world of tiny computers that reuse technology from other worlds only gets better. And when this stuff gets packaged into consumer electronics, it looks something like this. This is a Nest thermostat. It plugs into your wall, where your normal thermostat would go. Except instead of just controlling the temperature in your house, it radios back to the outside world. So you can do things like track your use over time. It's smart about knowing what the weather is going to be like. So it knows that if a warm front is coming in, it doesn't need to heat the house quite so much. Just, you wouldn't think of your thermostat knowing that, but once you can imagine that you have a system that's plugged into the world and can draw intelligence from the world, you can just be a lot smarter about home automation. I read a prediction that the future home is going to have 50 internet devices in it, up from about 8 or 10 right now. So imagine all of the sorts of things. Imagine your furnace being online. That's not hard to do. Imagine your refrigerator knowing what temperature it is and being able to tell you that. That's not hard to imagine. Imagine your toaster. Well, maybe not your toaster. Not my toaster. It's an old toaster. But it's not difficult to imagine points of control in a home, or especially in an industrial environment, where everything that can be sensed and reported on and logged and controlled remotely really will be controlled remotely, because it would be so expensive and the opportunities for efficiency would be there. So I imagine an Internet of Things that has 10 times as much stuff on it right now than things already. And I don't think that's a stretch. A small device like that Raspberry Pi I showed you can control, because it's got input and output ports, can control anything. And there's a lot of things left for that want to be monitored, that want to be managed, that want to be so we're going to have all these devices. What are they going to be plugged into? A lot of them are going to be connected wirelessly, especially in the home. They're just going to have a little Wi-Fi chip or card on them, and they're going to talk to your home router. There's a trend in some municipalities to have very high-speed fiber to the home. It's not very many places around the world that have fiber all the way to the home because constructing it is expensive. There was a big push in Ann Arbor to get Google to come here and do HT fiber. It didn't pan out. Right now, Google is in Provo, Utah, and in Kansas City, I think, and maybe one other place. So
Austin.
Austin?
Austin.
Yeah, so if you want to move to somewhere else that has super cheap, super high-speed, super low-cost internet, you really don't have that many choices right now. And it would take a relatively large amount of money to replace the existing copper infrastructure with fiber infrastructure. But 7 years is a long time, and people are still innovating on low-cost ways to put fiber in the ground. I just read about a pilot that they're going to be doing in New York City. They're going to use concrete saw cuts on their sidewalks, and they're going to lay fiber right inside the sidewalk. Cut a trench, a micro trench that's the width of the saw blade, throw the fiber into it, patch it up, and you're ready to go. So that's not hard to imagine that as people think of new ways to get new high-speed bandwidth into the home or into businesses, there's lots of opportunities there. Are any of them completely transformational? Having 500 television channels on all the time, we sort of have that right now. We sort of know what that is. With a gigabit of data into the home, your television is going to work. All of your various internet devices are going to work. But I don't think we know yet what high-speed data will bring. That's a sort of a big gap in my futurism predictions. I don't know what the transformational effect is of having a computer that's enormously quickly connected to the world, because my devices are not limited by their internet connection. They're limited by the software, they're limited by the memory in my computer, so I'm not in a world where instant downloads exists. I'm not sure what that's going to look like. So I'm hopeful that someone will figure out a way of using all that bandwidth. And finally, I want to think about parts of the net that are going to disappear. This is a graphic from Google Reader, actually not from Google Reader, but from someone who edited the Google Reader. Google Reader was a system for watching updates to weblogs and to news sources and whatnot. And after several years of near abandonment by Google, they finally decided to shut it down. Google Reader is not the only service that's been shut down on the internet. If you follow the right people online, you can get a steady stream of announcements of very small companies that build up a very small fan base and some technology sufficient for them to get acquired by the likes of a Google or a Facebook or a Yahoo. And as part of their happy announcement of their acquisition, they say something like, "Because we love you so much, we're going to delete all your data." And that's because we've succeeded. And thanks to you, we've succeeded. And by the way, this service that you love is going to get turned off. There's a fellow in Germany who keeps a website called the Museum of Modern Data. He's got more than 11,000 screenshots of companies that are beta testing something, collected over the last 8 years. You know those are not all going to go, but they're not going to stick around. With the emergence of cloud computing, where people store things up in the ether where they're not really quite sure where they are or who's holding on to them, and entrust their data to a service that they may or may not be paying for, the chance is that at some point along the way, something that you really like is going to disappear. I've had a few services that I liked and I think I actually paid for one of them. Got acquired by Yahoo, got kept up for about a year, The people who were there left after their non-compete was up, and the Yahoo site shut down. So this world of the internet keeps changing, and that's really shouldn't be any surprise. Does anyone here remember the old Gopher service? Yeah, the same hands that people were. So Gopher was the future of the internet. It was 1992. Everyone was really excited about putting a menu on the internet so you could just click your way through it instead of having to type in arcane commands. You could run it on the Macintosh in your kitchen. It had a big recipe collection in it, so you could do all your cooking from your Macintosh in the kitchen. You could look up recipes and figure out what to eat that night. You could play music through it. It was a little bit awkward, but you could do it. And it was the future of the internet. It was what everyone was going to be using. MTV disc jockeys wore T-shirts with Gopher on it. And a couple years later, gone. Essentially taken over by the World Wide Web. Superior technology, better graphics, better funded. The Gopher folks made some licensing mistakes that might have slowed down adoption, but the reality was the most popular internet service just disappeared. And now Gopher sites only reemerge on April Fool's Day, where people announce some Gopher-based interface to something else. And very small number of people who appreciate that laugh, and then they go on to read about it everywhere. So, technology keeps moving. Usenet News, which once occupied a large part of my day, which had intelligent discussions among graduate students all over the world, suddenly became overrun by spam and pornography, and disappeared from the sort of things that I tried to pay attention to or needed to pay attention to. CompuServe, which was a big part of the pre-internet world, disappeared without a trace. Prodigy, likewise. So there's a life cycle to these sort of internet systems. I would be willing to believe in one of several alternate futures that Facebook might go that same direction, where for some reason it collapses of its own weight, or something new comes along, or the kids stop using it, or the advertisers get tired of it, or whatever the change is, and 7 years is a long time, there's a lot of room for change, that it could go away. Gopher did go away, pretty completely. And there's a marvelous book, because I'm being recorded, I won't give the full name of the book, but F Companies, Spectacular.com Flameouts. There was a lot of money that went into the internet world in 1999 or so. And people came up with all kinds of crazy business models. They'll sell you dog food and they'll ship it to you, because that would be more efficient than having you go to the store. Love to have your dog food today. They'll deliver ice cream to your door. That was Cosmo. And not charge you for delivery. This lovely book dated about 2002 has a long list of business ideas where people raised millions or tens of millions of dollars, and things flamed out. The internet is a very cyclical industry. It didn't look like that when it was growing really fast, but every once in a while, some convergence of events happens where a lot of organizations come under really heavy financial stress, or heavy social stress, or some other kind of hard to predict but in retrospect very obvious stress, and go out of business or restructure rapidly. During the dot-com boom, I was working for Cisco Systems, and they were the biggest, most profitable, most valued company in the world. and all of their equipment was very hard to get, and Cisco worked very hard to get its production lines from its vendors ramped up completely to speed, so that when someone faxed in an order, and we're still faxing things back then, that they could ship them something as fast as they could. So sometimes they would double or triple order parts just to make sure they had enough parts. And then the .com boom ended, and instead of there being demand for new machines, people were taking their Cisco routers and trying to sell them on the used market. And suddenly it was very easy to get things that had previously been very hard. And Cisco went through an enormous restructuring afterwards. One of the things that I do in my copious spare time is organize the Cisco Alumni Association. It started out with an 8,500 person layoff, which I was one of. So, the biggest of the big can still see tremendous cuts. And it's not hard to imagine that some transformational moment that we don't understand right now is going to put some companies that we think of as being the backbone of the internet into a lot of stress and take them out. So that's a reasonable perspective on the future. I really believe that mobile devices are the way things are going to go. I believe that everyone who's designing a website right now should design for mobile first. Everyone who's looking at making investments in the future of how they present themselves to the world should look really closely as to how people can perceive them through a small screen. And I also really believe that computers are going to get so cheap, internet connected computers are going to get so cheap, that we're going to see them in all sorts of places that we didn't expect to see them before. And I think between those two trends, that the internet 7 years from now is going to look really different. We're going to have a really different conception of what it means to be online, what it means to be offline, how dependent we're going to be on technology brands. And I'm happy to take questions. Yeah, happy to take questions.
Yeah.
Hi, Susan.
Should I just yell? My voice does carry. Sure. When the Twitter search feature came out a couple of years ago, were you amazed at how powerful that was?
I was.
And it seems nobody makes a big deal of it. It's sort of unbelievable to be able to see what people are saying right now about whatever.
There's a real sense of real-time intimacy. I don't know if it's intimacy, but real-time engagement with the world. I was watching a city council meeting the other night, and during that time, the world was watching, along with me, a hockey game that was in overtime, and then a few minutes later, the landing of the Soyuz capsule from the International Space Station. And I really sort of felt like I was sitting on my couch in the living room, and I was sort of there, tuned in to one audio stream or another audio stream, and paying attention to local government all at the same time. And trends pop up like that. You don't always have to be searching the world for things. You can, because Twitter keeps track of trending traffic, it's not just what your friends are talking about, it's what the world is engaged in. I think it's really powerful.
Does anyone else have questions? Questions, anyone else? For Ed? Yeah?
I've read recently that keyboard is going to go away. It's all going to be voice. What do you know about that?
So I've tried to use voice for some things. My best story about voice control goes back to about 15 years ago. I was working at a startup company where one of the people in the group was very profoundly handicapped, and he was the best customer service agent we had. He had carefully scripted out the answers to hundreds of common questions and used voice control exclusively after laboriously typing out by voice his answers. And he could zip through the world of prompt answers to common questions faster than anyone else in his own voice. It takes a certain investment in voice. I've used it on that size device. Google has a Google Now that lets me do things. It mostly works. But I think if you really invest in it, you can make it really work really well. I still use the keyboard instead of the voice controls for most things, in part because I'm out in noisy environments where it's not going to work quite as well. But I think that at some point it's worthwhile assuming that every device is going to have, whenever there's an input box, there'll be an opportunity to say things to it.
Got another question right here.
Patrick?
Well, you talked earlier about the giants of the internet and how they wax and wane, how AOL went down, how Facebook is probably going down. And when I think about the giants, I always think about IBM because they were like the giant as far as computing companies. But you don't hear about IBM beating the internet or making the internet. So how does IBM? Are they making money off the net now? And where might they be in 7 years? Are they just waiting for their moment?
IBM is in data centers everywhere, so they've got, they don't have very much in the way of transmission equipment, but if you're building a cloud inside your data center, it's very reasonable that you might have IBM mainframe-y type things running a bunch of Linux instances inside, or running legacy IBM operating systems or whatnot. So maybe their day as a consumer brand is completely gone. But inside the big enterprise, I think they still have a potentially very long lifespan. If anything, the world of mainframes and the world of cloud computing are sort of merged. You have this big black box that runs a bunch of virtual machines on it. If you want to start something new, you talk to your IT staff, and 15 minutes later you've got a new machine. No one had to slide a couple $1,000s worth of Dell equipment into a rack. They just spin up a little more capacity. And that very much looks like the traditional mainframe environment. So I think that a traditional mainframe style company, plus all the services that they drop on top of that for running a business, has a long, perhaps not very public lifespan. You're not going to see Charlie Chaplin ads anytime soon, but you don't really need to.
Anybody else has any questions? We might be able to take one more. No? Okay. So now's the exciting part of the time when we get to run around. Well, you are exciting. Yes, you're very exciting. Not exciting. That wasn't what I meant. You're very exciting. You have great ideas about the future, and I, for one, was excited to hear what they were. I kind of hoped that you would slip in a Back to the Future reference, but I'll let you slide for it.
Flying cars.
So now we're gonna run around the room really quick and give everybody's name, and if you have an ask or any information you feel like sharing with the group. We'll start with Mary Lou.
Hi, I'm Mary Lou with the LA2M. Thanks for coming out today. And Ed, that was really, really interesting. A lot of really cool ideas. And really a lot to think about. And kind of think in terms of how that extrapolates to your own individual situations. The other thing that I wanted to mention is I'm not only with LA2M, but I'm also the Executive Director of Community Arts of Tecumseh. And we're having an art fair, which is coming up June 8th and 9th. I'd like to invite all of you to come on out to our lovely little town of Tecumseh, Michigan. It'll be right on the grounds of our art center at 804 North Evans, so please come out to our art fair as well. Thanks.
You guys heard a lot from me today, I'm actually. Hi, I'm Lauren Schneider, social media coordinator at Ingenix. Sorry, you're supposed to stand up. I'm Erin. I'm one of the LA2M live tweeters and a content producer at Ingenix Digital Marketing.
I'm Roger Rayle. I do the video here and several other places. The next one will be at A2 New Tech next Tuesday.
I'm Mike Brooks. I'm with Arbor Technologies. We're a materials company that is translating some great new technology from Michigan State University to the plastics industry.
green.
Hi, I'm Lisa Rabbit. I'm a marketing analyst and product manager, and I help companies increase their sale and improve their products and branding, and I'm looking for some new opportunities.
Hi, I'm Jim Campbell from ExcitingProductions.com, and one of the things we specialize in is testimonials for companies, producing videos of them. Why should you give us a call? And Jim Campbell, Exciting Productions.
Hi, my name is Kevin Packard with the Foresight Group, print solutions that deliver and Tecumseh residents. I'll see Mary Lou at the art fair.
Hi, my name is Ashley, and I'm the owner of Footnotes. We're a ballroom dance studio located here in Ann Arbor. We are promoting a wedding dance workshop that we're having on Monday, May 27th. And it's not just only for the bride and groom, it's for the wedding party or anyone attending a wedding this season. So again, my name is Ashley, and I'm from Footnotes.
Hi, my name is Lev Wood, and I'm with a company called MS2. We're software designers here in Ann Arbor, and we are hiring. I thought I'd mention that we're looking for a part-time marketing coordinator at our company here. And if you are interested, or if you have any friends or associates who have marketing coordinator background, I've got job descriptions here that I brought today, so happy to pass those out to anybody who's interested. So see me after. Okay, thank you.
Hi, I'm Nancy Rojas Fairley, and I am a creative marketing consultant from Jackson, and I represent about 5 small business manufacturers.
Hi, my name is Caroline Buckley. I'm graduating from U of M in the fall with a degree in communications and sociology, and I'm just looking to get my feet wet in marketing. So if you know of any opportunities, I would love to hear about them. Please come and introduce yourself to me afterward.
Hi, Daniel Rivkin. I'm an international communications consultant based in Macau.
Hi again, I'm Jordan from Dexter Buildings.
Hi, I'm Jessica. I'm an advertising major at MSU and an intern with Ingenix this summer.
Hi, my name is John Matos, and I'm intern with Ingenix this summer.
Hi, I'm Rachel Keenan. We're obviously at the intern table over here for Ingenix.
Hi, I'm Stephanie. I'm a senior at the University of Michigan, and I'm a teacher.
Hi, I'm Ariana Sauber. Yeah, I'm an intern. I'm starting at U of M in late June.
Susan Harris, I'm retired.
You're not an intern? My name is Justin Gibson. I work at Sandler Training here in Ann Arbor. We help small and mid-sized companies optimize sales process, and typically people come to us because they're either not getting in front of the right new prospects, or they might be experiencing a lot of sales activity, just thinking over some proposals, or having to sell on price and not just finding a fair margin. So, thank you guys.
Hi everybody, I'm Stacy from Valdo Hopping, your local digital print shop, and I can't believe Derek hired somebody that's going to be with them.
Hi everybody, my name is Jim Musial, and I have a company called 5522 Tech, and we help companies that want to take their website and make it optimized for mobile, much like I was talking about earlier. So if you have a site for your company or personal that you'd like to help get it mobilized, I'd be happy to talk to you. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Emily Gator. I'm a student in Eastern Michigan. I'm also the social media coordinator for a large showing company in Westland. We cover 16 cities under AAA and 3 police counties.
Hi, I'm Josh. I'm a senior marketing major at Eastern Michigan University. I've been managing nonprofits, AdWords accounts for the past year, and I just started doing freelance search marketing. So if anyone needs any help, come talk to me.
How you doing? My name is Dominic Ciantar. I'm a recent graduate from Eastern Michigan University with my marketing degree. I'm working for a small startup company right here in Ann Arbor called Scoutforce.com, and we simplify the recruiting process for college athletic departments. And I'm pursuing my Google Analytics certification.
I'm Bud Gibson. I created the search marketing program at Eastern Michigan University. Very happy to have had Jim Nucio come give a talk to the students. Proud Huron, not Eagle, proud Huron. And these are my students. And we're doing our search marketing practicum this year. And if you're looking for people who are maybe a little bit cheaper than Ingenix or some of the other agencies around town, come talk to us.
Hello, I'm Brian Lorenz. I am going to be graduating with a marketing degree in the winter. So I'm currently looking for an internship, and I'll be looking for a job in about a year. So if you guys have any opportunities for marketing, please come see me afterwards.
Hi, I'm Tom Crawford. I run a mobile app development business called Movable Bytes. Our most recent app is one you might want to check out. It's for iPhone, coming soon for Android, called Happy Hour. Happy Hour deals in particular. There are 4 happy hours going on right now within walking distance of here, and at 4 there will be 40, and at 5 there will be 54 within walking distance of here. So if you're having trouble choosing, download the app and check it out, and you'll get a great idea of what you want to drink.
I'm Nick DeLuge. I'm the digital marketing specialist for Rainbow Rehabilitation Centers.
Hi, I'm Barry Marshall. I'm the marketing manager for Rainbow Rehabilitation Centers. We provide rehab services for people with brain and spinal cord injuries.
Hi, Emmy Ma. I'm an entrepreneur in internet business and also clean tech and energy.
I'm Kurt Sherman from Print Studios. I'm a commercial editorial and portrait photographer, and the images from these movies go up on the group's Facebook page.
And hello, everybody. Derek Maribon here. Yeah, back from the future, 2020. But wow, I'm so sorry I missed your talk. There was like a field trip, and I just could not make an appearance. So thanks for covering for me, Ashley. But so anyways, how was it? Everybody, was it fun?
Yeah.
You learned something? Good. All right, great. So next week we have Kareem Matawi. You've heard of the Matawi tiles, right? So you're going to be learning all about marketing plans and good stuff. Is that what it's about, marketing plans?
Yeah, it's more like scalable.
Okay.
The Tally was a small market, compared to nationwide organizations in the tile business, the Tally was actually relatively small. He learned a lot there, but as his career has evolved, he's gone to larger and larger companies working through marketing, and so he's going to be talking about scalable ideas and also some ideas that apply maybe more to smaller companies and also to larger companies. So if you're a marketer or if you're a business owner, this is going to be a very informative talk for you.
Great. And again, big thanks to Dexter Builders. And before we leave, let's give one final round of applause to Vielmetti.
Where's A2B3 tomorrow?
A2B3 on Thursday is going to be at what's the Indian place called? Madras Masala.
On Maynard.
On Maynard. And then on Thursday night, the A2 Geeks group is meeting for their annual meeting at Spark Center.
All right. See you guys later. Go make some money. See ya.